Dust hung thick in the air, motes drifting through thin shafts of light that cut through the cracked windows of the old workshop. The scent of oil, metal, and forgotten years clung to everything. Elias Trent stood at the center of it all, hands on his hips, staring at the chaos his grandfather had left behind. It wasn't a room, it was a labyrinth of benches, old drives, torn manuals, and 1,000 machines that looked like they might wake up if you whispered the right word. He'd come for closure, he told himself. Sell the scrap, sign the lease, and leave old Northbridge for good. But standing here, surrounded by relics of a life spent chasing the impossible, he felt something tug beneath the surface of his thoughts. His grandfather had never been a normal engineer. Never build what they tell you, the old man used to say. Build what no one dares to understand. Elias crouched, pushing aside a fallen cabinet. The floor groaned under his boots. Beneath a stack of rusted machine shells and a heavy tarpaulin lay something that didn't belong. A smooth, metallic shape, dark, dull, but somehow too perfect. He brushed the dust away. Lines of unfamiliar symbols ran along the edges, faintly iridescent in the dim light. What the hell is this? He murmured, fingertips tracing the patterns. The symbols pulsed, once, as if in response. He froze. The pulse faded. For a moment, he thought he'd imagined it. But when he leaned closer, a soft vibration thrummed through the air. The crate, if that's what it was warm. Not from the sun, not from friction. It was the kind of warmth that came from something alive. His rational mind kicked in. Could be a forgotten prototype. Some leftover fusion cell. Dangerous. Best to leave it. But curiosity had always been his curse. He fetched a crowbar from the bench, testing the lid seam. No latch, no bolts. Just a smooth join, like metal grown together rather than fused. He slipped the crowbar's edge into the tiniest gap and pried gently. A sound like a sigh escaped the crate. The workshop lights flickered. Somewhere above, a long-dead circuit sputtered back to life. Elias dropped the tool, stumbling back as the lid began to split open on its own. Thin threads of pale light spilled out, weaving through the air like smoke. "Grandpa, what the hell were you working on?" Inside, something stirred. It wasn't mechanical. At least, not entirely. It shifted like liquid, shimmering between transparency and form. For an instant, it looked like coiled glass. Then like a cluster of tendrils, flexing gently. The air around it warped faintly, carrying a low hum that seemed to vibrate in his chest rather than his ears. Elias took a slow step forward. "Hey, you're not gonna explode, are you?" The thing moved again, reacting to his voice. Not toward him, more like it was searching. A thread of it extended upward, quivering, then touching the rim of the crate. Where it made contact, the metal glowed faintly blue. Then it turned toward him. He should have run. Every survival instinct screamed at him to back away, seal it up, call someone. But his legs wouldn't move. His mind flooded with warmth, no, not warmth. Emotion. Something curious, tentative, and impossibly ancient brushed his thoughts. He staggered, gripping the edge of the worktable. Flashes erupted behind his eyelids, strange landscapes, massive structures like coral and glass, beings of light moving through endless caverns of bioluminescent vines. For a second he wasn't Elias Trent, human mechanic, he was part of something vast, something that had slept too long. Then it was gone. He gasped, collapsing to one knee, sweat beading on his forehead. The creature, or whatever it was, had retreated slightly, folding in on itself. A single filament hovered near his face, pulsing faintly. "You did that?" His voice shook. The filament pulsed again, almost like acknowledgement. Elias laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. "Oh, great. Telepathic goo. Grandpa would be proud." The thing responded with a brief shimmer, like ripples in water, and he realized with a chill that it was listening. Not just to sound, but to thought. He tried to think nothing. Tried to quiet the storm in his head. That was when the hum deepened, resonating through the floor, rattling the shelves. He stepped back. Okay, no, stop that. Whatever you're doing, stop. The crate sealed itself again with a soft hiss, and the vibration ceased. Silence fell so abruptly that it made his ears ring. Elias leaned against the table, panting. The lights overhead dimmed back to their usual flicker. He stared at the sealed box. The symbols along its surface now glowed faintly, arranged in new configurations, almost like language. He didn't recognize them, but somehow he felt their meaning, a warning. A promise? He couldn't tell. He wiped his hands on his jacket and reached for his old comm unit. Maybe Mara Holt would know. She'd been his grandfather's contact in Xenotech research once, before the government shut it all down. If this was alien, and every part of him screamed that it was, then the Accord would want it destroyed. But as his thumb hovered over the dial, another thought surfaced, not his own, don't. He froze. The word wasn't heard, it was felt, like a whisper pressed into his mind. He turned toward the crate again. You can talk. No answer. Just a slow pulse of light from within. He swallowed, lowering the comm. The workshop felt smaller now, the air charged with something that made the hair on his arms rise. He wasn't alone. Outside, thunder rumbled over the valley, and the old power lines buzzed faintly as if waking from their own sleep. The crate's symbols flickered once more, then dimmed entirely. Elias took a step closer, unable to resist, and laid his palm on the lid. Warmth spread through him again, gentle this time, familiar. And deep beneath that warmth, he sensed something else stirring, recognition. The thing inside knew him. He drew his hand back slowly, heart pounding, and looked around the workshop filled with his grandfather's inventions, half finished, half understood. The old man's words echoed in his memory, one day, Eli, you'll fix what I couldn't. Now Elias wondered, for the first time, what exactly his grandfather had been trying to fix. The storm outside cracked open the sky. In that brief flash of lightning, the crate's markings flared again, just once, before settling into a steady, rhythmic pulse. Almost like a heartbeat. And for the first time, Elias Trent realized it wasn't the workshop that was waking up. It was something else. Elias woke to the sound of his workbench humming. The lights flickered, alternating between dim amber and sterile white. For a moment, he couldn't remember falling asleep, then his gaze fell to the crate. It was open again. He sat up slowly. The thing inside was moving. Not violently, not threateningly, more like it was stretching after a long rest. Its surface rippled like quicksilver, catching the light in subtle rainbows. Small filaments drifted through the air, delicate as spider silk, dissolving before they touched the floor. Okay, Elias muttered, rubbing his eyes. Still not a dream. A low, rhythmic vibration filled the workshop, too deep to be sound. It pressed against his ribs, matched to his heartbeat. His tools rattled against the benches, a quiet percussion to something vast and unseen. He took a hesitant step forward. Hey. You, awake now? A pulse of blue shimmered across the creature's surface, like a nod. It extended a tendril toward him, stopping a hand's breadth away. He could feel the air thrum between them. The hum resolved into something more precise, a pattern, almost speech, but not in words. A series of shapes flickered in his mind. Stars. Lines connecting them. Then a burst of white. He stumbled back, clutching his temples. Stop. I can't, too much. The images halted instantly. The creature retracted, folding in on itself. The air grew still again. Elias sank onto a stool, breathing hard. You're trying to talk, he said, voice low. And I'm the idiot who opened your box. The crate pulsed once more, light, soft, apologetic. He laughed weakly. Okay. So we can understand each other, kind of. The creature shimmered again, more brightly this time. Elias noticed how the light flowed in rhythm with his voice, responding not to words, but tone. It wasn't just hearing him, it was feeling him. Right, he said, leaning forward. You feel things. That's how you talk, huh? A ripple of faint gold passed across its surface. The warmth of it reached him like an emotion. Agreement. All right, then. Let's see what you are. He grabbed his scanner from the bench, a handheld model built for reading exotic alloys. The screen flickered erratically the moment he pointed it at the creature. The device's circuits whined, readings spiking off-scale before the screen went black entirely. The smell of burnt circuitry filled the air. Damn it. That's my only working sensor. The creature's glow dimmed, as if it understood it had broken something. Elias sighed. Not your fault. You're just, way beyond what I'm supposed to mess with. He stood, pacing. His mind raced. Alien biotech. Active. Responsive. Probably sentient. The Accord's rules were clear, report and quarantine. But if he called them, they'd take it, lock it in some cold vault, maybe dissect it, maybe worse. And yet, if he didn't. His thoughts spiraled, until something else intruded. Not his own mind this time. A whisper. Not sound, not language, just a flicker of feeling, safe. He froze. Safe. The crate pulsed again, faint, reassuring. You can hear me in here, huh? A sharper pulse. Affirmation. All right, Kelt, he said, naming it without knowing why. The sound fit, as if the word had been waiting in his mouth. You're safe. For now. At the name, a surge of warmth filled the room. The lights brightened, and a faint resonance passed through the walls, vibrating every surface. Somewhere outside, dogs began barking. Elias winced. Okay, easy. No loud emotions, got it? The hum lessened, subsiding to a faint purr. He exhaled slowly. You're learning fast. That's either incredible or terrifying. A faint tremor passed through the floor. He frowned, stepping toward the windows. Old Northbridge lay quiet under a dull morning haze. Rusted rooftops, overgrown streets, nothing out of the ordinary, until his eyes caught a flicker of blue light on the horizon. High, too steady to be lightning. A satellite flash, maybe. Or a scanner sweep. He felt a prickle in his chest, like static crawling under his skin. Kelt was emitting something, some kind of signal. Oh no, he whispered. What did you just wake up? He hurried to the comm terminal in the corner, slapping the power button. The screen sputtered to life, displaying fragments of local transmission bands. Something big was cutting through every frequency, distorted pulses repeating every few seconds. He adjusted the tuner, isolating the pattern. It wasn't random. It was code. Then the screen flickered, and a string of alien glyphs appeared, 3 symbols, repeating endlessly. He didn't recognize them, but Kelt stirred the moment they appeared, responding with an echoing pulse. Elias swore and yanked the terminal's power. The workshop fell silent again, except for the creature's faint hum. You just pinged something up there, didn't you? The air shimmered with faint blue waves. He didn't need words to understand the answer. Yes. He ran both hands through his hair, pacing again. Perfect. You call your friends, the Accord finds out, and I get vaporized for violating 5 Xenotech laws. Brilliant. Kelt shifted, its glow dimming to a muted gray. A wave of remorse, sadness, almost human, washed over him. It hit harder than he expected. Hey, no, he said quickly. I'm not angry. Just, worried, okay? We can figure this out. The air calmed. The creature's color brightened, a pale silver sheen like moonlight. Elias crouched beside the crate, looking at it closely. "You're scared too, aren't you?" A pulse. Affirmative. He hesitated, then extended his hand. The same tendril as before reached out. This time it didn't stop. It brushed his palm, cool, soft, and alive. A spark of light bloomed between them. Images flooded his mind again, clearer now, vast spires of living glass, a sun collapsing into violet fire, beings of light dispersing into the void. A single thought lingered through it all: we are last. Elias gasped, pulling his hand back. His pulse thundered in his ears. "You're the last one of you." The answer came as a single, mournful tone that filled the entire workshop. He didn't need translation. He stood there for a long moment, staring at the creature that should not exist, the echo of its grief still resonating in his chest. Outside, the sky flickered faintly again, this time closer. He looked up, realizing what that meant. Someone, somewhere, had seen the signal. And they were coming. Rain lashed against the windows in thin silver threads, tapping the metal frames like nervous fingers. Elias paced across the workshop floor, glancing between the crate, the comm terminal, and the storm outside. The air felt heavier now, the way it did before lightning struck. He could almost hear electricity crawling through the clouds above. Kelt rested quietly in its open container, a faint pulse of light beneath its translucent surface. It looked calm, but Elias could feel tension seeping through their connection, a flicker of unease that wasn't his own. Something was out there. He turned the comm terminal back on, overriding the security prompts. The screen stuttered, flashing static before stabilizing on a local orbital channel. A red alert scrolled across the display: unauthorized energy signature detected, source, OLD Northbridge Sector 9. "Perfect," Elias muttered. "We've got their attention." He skimmed through the feed, his stomach sinking as the logos of the Accords Department of Forbidden Artifacts filled the corner of the screen. Drones had already been dispatched. Their ETA, less than 3 hours. Kelt shifted, sensing his panic. "Yeah," Elias said aloud, "that's bad news for both of us." The creature rippled, a brief wave of color flashing through its body, something between anxiety and confusion. Elias caught a flicker of imagery in his head: ships, bright lights, metal arms, containment. It understood capture. "Don't worry," he said. "They're not gonna take you." He didn't know how he'd keep that promise. The comm crackled suddenly, switching channels without input. A voice filtered through the static, female, crisp, official. "This is Dr. Mara Holt, Accord Xenotech Division. I repeat, Elias Trent, if you can hear me, do not engage the artifact. Secure the area and await containment personnel." Elias froze. Of all people, Mara Holt. His grandfather's old contact. She'd been kind to him when he was a kid, the one who'd brought him his first neural interface kit. Now she was coming to take the one thing he didn't want to lose. He thumbed the comm switch. "Dr. Holt, I might have already engaged the artifact." Static filled the line for a long second before her voice returned, sharper. "Elias, listen to me carefully. If it's active, you're in danger. Step away from it immediately. It may attempt cognitive linking." "It already did," he said quietly. A pause. Then, "What?" "It's connected. To me. It's alive, Mara." Another pause, longer this time. When she spoke again, her tone had changed. Softer. "Elias, where are you right now?" "You already know," he said. "You found the signal. Listen to me," she continued. "That signal wasn't just picked up by us. Coalition ships registered it too. Our HYV tech orbitals are moving toward Earth. You need to shut it down." Kelt stirred, reacting to her voice through the speakers, the glow in its body flickering in agitated waves. Elias felt something cold and alien in his mind, fear, ancient and sharp. "They're hunting you, aren't they?" he whispered. Kelt's pulse brightened, an unspoken yes. "Elias," Mara's voice cut through. "If they find you first, they'll destroy it, and probably you with it. The RHY Tech don't take chances with Voran relics. You need to stay hidden until my team arrives. Do you understand?" "Yeah," he said. "I understand." He cut the transmission. He turned to Kelt. "We have to move." The creature lifted slightly from the crate, suspended in the air like liquid gravity. It rippled toward him, breaking into threads that hovered near his hands. He grabbed a duffel from under the bench, stuffing tools, rations, and an old power cell into it. The workshop lights flickered again, this time not from the storm. Outside, a low hum rolled through the air, mechanical and deliberate. He ran to the window. High above the hills, black dots cut across the clouds. Drones, Accord models, triangular, scanning beams slicing the sky. Kelt pulsed in alarm. Elias felt it as a quickening heartbeat in his mind. "Yeah, I see them," he said. Too late to hide. He grabbed his jacket and moved toward the door. Kelt followed, a shifting cloud of silver that dimmed its glow until it nearly disappeared. The hum grew louder. A beam swept across the workshop, dissolving the shadows for a heartbeat. Elias ducked behind the forge table, clutching the duffel. The beam passed, then circled back. The metal walls hummed faintly from residual energy. Kelt's glow brightened for an instant, and the drone above stuttered midair, its light flickering before it dropped out of the sky with a metallic shriek. It hit the ground outside, smoke rising from its core. Elias gaped at the creature. "You did that?" Kelt pulsed faintly, as if unsure whether to be proud or afraid. "Okay, that's new," he said. "Let's get the hell out before someone notices." He pushed through the back door into the rain. The smell of ozone filled the air. The streetlights flickered as he ran through the alley, Kelt gliding behind him like a ghost. He passed shuttered shops and corroded signs, heading toward the old transit tunnel that led beneath the city. Every few steps, he glanced back. The night sky flickered with more incoming lights. Not drones this time, ships, sleek and dark, their silhouettes sharp against the lightning. RHY Tech. Kelt sent him a burst of thought, not words, just feeling, run deeper. He obeyed. They reached the tunnel entrance. Elias forced the rusted door open and slipped inside. The air was damp, echoing with distant water drips. His breath came in ragged bursts. Kelt followed silently, casting just enough light to see by. After what felt like hours, he slowed, leaning against the wall. "They'll find us," he said. "Accord, coalition, doesn't matter. They'll tear this place apart." Kelt hovered before him, pulsing faintly. A sense of resolve flowed through the connection, quiet, steady, unyielding. "You've got a plan, don't you?" he murmured. A faint image bloomed in his mind, the old power plant beneath Northbridge, long decommissioned, half-flooded. Then a feeling, safe. "Down there?" he asked. "You sure?" Kelt's glow strengthened. Elias nodded, pushing off the wall. "All right. Lead the way, partner." As they disappeared deeper into the dark, the rain outside stopped, and the sky above the ruins filled with the silent descent of alien ships, their lights sweeping the city like searching eyes. The tunnels beneath Northbridge stretched endlessly, carved decades ago by machines that no longer existed. Their walls were slick with condensation, the air thick with metallic damp. Elias's footsteps echoed against the concrete, his breath coming slow and steady now. Kelt drifted ahead, a sphere of dim silver light barely bright enough to reveal the path. Every few seconds, it pulsed in short bursts, as if sensing the space around them. They had been walking for hours. Elias's legs ached, but he didn't dare stop. Every now and then, he caught faint tremors above, shocks from engines or sonic sweeps. The Accord was searching the city, and the RHY Tech weren't far behind. "How far to this safe place of yours?" he asked quietly. Kelt answered not in words, but in an image, an immense chamber of metal and stone, humming faintly with light. He recognized the architecture from his childhood, the old Northbridge power nexus, abandoned after the energy collapse. His grandfather had brought him there once, years ago, when the place was already half drowned in floodwater. He remembered asking why they were there, and the old man's cryptic reply, "Every system needs a heart." Now Elias wondered what kind of heart his grandfather had meant. They reached a broken service shaft and climbed down, their feet splashing into knee-deep water. Faint light glimmered off the surface, reflections bending as if the liquid itself were alive. The air smelled of rust and ozone. Kelt hovered above the water, flickering with faint patterns, circles within circles, repeating faster, a pulse of recognition. Elias looked around, frowning. "You've been here before." A quick flash in his mind confirmed it. The creature's memory uncoiled for an instant, hands, human hands, working alongside tendrils of living metal, connecting them, shaping a core. His grandfather's face appeared for only a second, then vanished into light. He stumbled backward, gasping. He helped build you." Kelt dimmed, uncertain. The feeling it shared was incomplete, fragmented. But there was truth in it, his grandfather had been involved somehow. The realization hit Elias like a weight. His whole life, he'd thought the old man was just a genius tinkerer chasing broken dreams. Instead, he'd been working on something alive, something alien, right under the Accord's nose. A distant rumble shook the floor. The tunnel lights flickered back to life for the first time in decades, buzzing with weak power. Kelt responded, glowing brighter. The creature's tendrils stretched toward the ceiling, forming thin arcs of energy. The sound was hypnotic, a deep, rhythmic resonance, like a heartbeat echoing through the walls. "What are you doing?" Elias whispered. A soft warmth filled his mind, connecting. To what? The answer came in fragments, images of the Nexus, machinery submerged in darkness, dormant cores waiting for a signal. Then a feeling, urgency, purpose, something that burned behind Kelt's presence. He shook his head. No. No, we can't light this place up. They'll see it, track it. You'll bring them right to us. But Kelt continued, the resonance building until the air trembled. Water rippled outward in concentric waves. Elias's ears rang. "Stop," he shouted. "You'll give us away." The vibration halted instantly. The silence that followed was suffocating. Kelt's glow dimmed to a faint ember. Through their bond came a wash of emotion, guilt, frustration, sadness. Elias rubbed his temples. "You were trying to help, weren't you?" A pulse. "Yes." He sighed, leaning against a broken conduit. "You don't get it. Humans don't trust what they don't control. You wake up a whole alien network under their feet, and they'll nuke the city just to keep it quiet." The creature drifted closer, hovering at his shoulder. A flicker of light brushed his skin, warm, cautious, curious. The contact sent a wave of calm through him, like cool water across a fever. He exhaled, tension bleeding out. "All right. Maybe we can use the Nexus, but carefully. Small pulse, low signature. Enough to hide, not to be found." Kelt shimmered faintly, its pattern stabilizing. Agreement. They moved together through a half-flooded corridor, deeper into the Nexus. Rusted doors slid open as Kelt's light passed them, circuits waking from decades of decay. When they entered the main chamber, Elias stopped short. The heart of the power plant loomed before them, a circular hull filled with pillars of glass and metal, all veined with dormant conduits. The floor was covered in shallow water that reflected the arches above, making it seem like they stood inside a mirrored cathedral. At the center rose the main reactor sphere, cracked open like an egg. Kelt floated toward it, trembling. "Is this where you were born?" Elias asked quietly. The creature pulsed once, uncertain, then sent him another memory. His grandfather, younger, standing in this very chamber. Machinery breathing around him, light pouring from the floor. Words whispered through the echo, "If it wakes, it chooses." The image shattered. Elias stared at the reactor. "You didn't come from the stars," he said slowly. "You came from here." From him. Kelt didn't deny it. It simply moved closer to the reactor core and sank into it like liquid merging with its source. The old metal flared with color, lines of energy racing up the walls. The entire chamber began to glow. Elias shielded his eyes. "Kelt, what are you doing?" The answer hit him like a heartbeat through the floor, remembering. The water vibrated, sending ripples of light in every direction. Elias felt the pulse inside his skull, waves of memory that weren't his, machines blooming from soil, minds linked in song, whole cities breathing as one organism. Then fire. Silence. A sense of falling, of centuries lost. When the visions faded, Kelt re-emerged from the reactor. Its glow was stronger now, steady and controlled. It hovered close, brushing his sleeve like a living breeze. "You're back," he said, voice barely above a whisper. A soft pulse answered him, gratitude. Then another, warning. Elias frowned. "What?" A new sound echoed from above, engines. Heavy, deliberate, descending. Through the fractured roof, faint red lights bled down through the rain. Kelt drifted toward the shadows, dimming until it was barely visible. Elias felt the fear in his chest, sharp and sudden, but this time it wasn't only his. The creature's terror matched his own. He looked up at the lights growing larger through the cracks. "They found us." Kelt's glow flared once, faint but defiant, and the air hummed with energy gathering in its core. Elias swallowed, tightening his grip on his pack. "All right," he said quietly. "Then we make them earn it." Outside, the first Accord dropships touched down, their floodlights slicing through the storm as the hunt closed in. The air vibrated with the sound of descending engines. Dust rained from the ceiling in slow, silent streams. Elias crouched beside the reactor's shattered shell, his pulse thrumming in time with the low mechanical roar above. The glow from Kelt had faded to the faintest shimmer, a ghost light barely visible through the shadows. Floodlights pierced through the gaps in the roof, white beams sweeping across the waterlogged chamber. Elias ducked lower as armored figures rappelled down on magnetic lines, their suits gleaming under the rain. Accord strike team. No insignia. No hesitation. One of them spoke through a loudspeaker, voice metallic and cold. "Elias Trent. By order of the Interplanetary Accord, you are to surrender immediately. Any resistance will be met with lethal force." Elias swallowed hard, pressing his back against the reactor. His mind buzzed with options, none of them good. Kelt's presence brushed his thoughts, a whisper without words, "Hide." "I'm trying," he murmured under his breath. The soldiers fanned out, their boots splashing softly through the water. Their visors cast faint blue scans across the walls, mapping temperature and movement. One paused, his scanner flashing red. He turned toward the reactor, raising his rifle. Elias barely breathed. Kelt slid silently behind him, its tendrils curling around the metal like liquid smoke. The soldier advanced, one step, two, three, then the lights flickered. A faint hum built from beneath the floor, low enough to feel in the teeth. "What the soldier began, but didn't finish." The floor shuddered. The dead conduits that lined the walls suddenly flared with life. Lines of light shot outward like veins awakening in stone. The water surged upward in ripples as if electrified. Elias pressed himself against the metal as Kelt's glow returned in full, blazing from within the reactor's heart. The soldiers opened fire. The gunfire echoed, bullets striking invisible resistance before melting into sparks midair. Non-lethal containment field, now, one of them shouted, but the moment the device activated, it overloaded. The room filled with a brilliant pulse that dropped every soldier to one knee. Elias blinked through the glare. Kelt, stop. You'll kill them. The hum subsided. The soldiers slumped, stunned but alive. Kelt floated free, its shape shimmering with a new clarity, more defined now, less amorphous. Its presence in his mind grew sharper too, a strange merging of curiosity and sadness. You didn't have to do that, Elias said quietly. The creature pulsed faintly, its response like a ripple across still water. Protect. He exhaled and peered toward the roof. More ships hovered above the ruins. The Accord wouldn't stop at one squad. We need to go. They'll send heavies next. Kelt's light dimmed, as though it agreed. But before Elias could move, a voice echoed through the chamber, amplified and too familiar. Elias Trent, it said, calm and cutting. You're making this harder than it needs to be. He turned. A woman stood on the upper platform, flanked by 2 security drones. Mara Holt. Her uniform was soaked, her hair plastered to her face, but her expression was steady. She looked down at him the way one scientist might look at a volatile experiment. Mara, he called back. You're early. Your little beacon expedited things, she replied. Step away from it. Slowly. Elias laughed, bitter. I can't. It's bonded. You know that. Her jaw tightened. Then break it. Before someone else does it for you. He shook his head. You don't understand what this thing is. I understand perfectly, she said. That thing is Voran technology. Living, unpredictable, and older than our entire species. You think you can control it? You're wrong. You'll burn for it. Elias stepped forward, water rippling around his boots. My grandfather built this, he said. He worked on it here, in this place. You knew, didn't you? Mara's silence was all the answer he needed. They didn't find it, Mara. They made it. The Accord tried to grow their own alien god and buried it when it got too close to waking up. Her eyes flicked toward Kelt, whose glow intensified at his words. The air between them shimmered, filled with faint static. You don't know what you're saying, she said, voice low. Elias, it's not a god. It's a weapon. Kelt reacted. The tunnels beneath Northbridge stretched endlessly, carved decades ago by machines that no longer existed. Their walls were slick with condensation, the air thick with metallic damp. Elias's footsteps echoed against the concrete, his breath coming slow and steady now. Kelt drifted ahead, a sphere of dim silver light barely bright enough to reveal the path. Every few seconds, it pulsed in short bursts, as if sensing the space around them. They had been walking for hours. Elias's legs ached, but he didn't dare stop. Every now and then, he caught faint tremors above, shocks from engines or sonic sweeps. The Accord was searching the city, and the RHY Tech weren't far behind. How far to this safe place of yours? He asked quietly. Kelt answered not in words, but in an image, an immense chamber of metal and stone, humming faintly with light. He recognized the architecture from his childhood, the old Northbridge power nexus, abandoned after the energy collapse. His grandfather had brought him there once, years ago, when the place was already half drowned in floodwater. He remembered asking why they were there, and the old man's cryptic reply, every system needs a heart. Now Elias wondered what kind of heart his grandfather had meant. They reached a broken service shaft and climbed down, their feet splashing into knee-deep water. Faint light glimmered off the surface, reflections bending as if the liquid itself were alive. The air smelled of rust and ozone. Kelt hovered above the water, flickering with faint patterns, circles within circles, repeating faster, a pulse of recognition. Elias looked around, frowning. You've been here before. A quick flash in his mind confirmed it. The creature's memory uncoiled for an instant, hands, human hands, working alongside tendrils of living metal, connecting them, shaping a core. His grandfather's face appeared for only a second, then vanished into light. He stumbled backward, gasping. He helped build you. Kelt dimmed, uncertain. The feeling it shared was incomplete, fragmented. But there was truth in it, his grandfather had been involved somehow. The realization hit Elias like a weight. His whole life, he'd thought the old man was just a genius tinkerer chasing broken dreams. Instead, he'd been working on something alive, something alien, right under the Accord's nose. A distant rumble shook the floor. The tunnel lights flickered back to life for the first time in decades, buzzing with weak power. Kelt responded, glowing brighter. The creature's tendrils stretched toward the ceiling, forming thin arcs of energy. The sound was hypnotic, a deep, rhythmic resonance, like a heartbeat echoing through the walls. What are you doing? Elias whispered. A soft warmth filled his mind, connecting. To what? The answer came in fragments, images of the Nexus, machinery submerged in darkness, dormant cores waiting for a signal. Then a feeling, urgency, purpose, something that burned behind Kelt's presence. He shook his head. No. No, we can't light this place up. They'll see it, track it. You'll bring them right to us. But Kelt continued, the resonance building until the air trembled. Water rippled outward in concentric waves. Elias's ears rang. Stop, he shouted. You'll give us away. The vibration halted instantly. The silence that followed was suffocating. Kelt's glow dimmed to a faint ember. Through their bond came a wash of emotion, guilt, frustration, sadness. Elias rubbed his temples. You were trying to help, weren't you? A pulse. Yes. He sighed, leaning against a broken conduit. You don't get it. Humans don't trust what they don't control. You wake up a whole alien network under their feet, and they'll nuke the city just to keep it quiet. The creature drifted closer, hovering at his shoulder. A flicker of light brushed his skin, warm, cautious, curious. The contact sent a wave of calm through him, like cool water across a fever. He exhaled, tension bleeding out. All right. Maybe we can use the Nexus, but carefully. Small pulse, low signature. Enough to hide, not to be found. Kelt shimmered faintly, its pattern stabilizing. Agreement. They moved together through a half-flooded corridor, deeper into the Nexus. Rusted doors slid open as Kelt's light passed them, circuits waking from decades of decay. When they entered the main chamber, Elias stopped short. The heart of the power plant loomed before them, a circular hull filled with pillars of glass and metal, all veined with dormant conduits. The floor was covered in shallow water that reflected the arches above, making it seem like they stood inside a mirrored cathedral. At the center rose the main reactor sphere, cracked open like an egg. Kelt floated toward it, trembling. Is this where you were born? Elias asked quietly. The creature pulsed once, uncertain, then sent him another memory. His grandfather, younger, standing in this very chamber. Machinery breathing around him, light pouring from the floor. Words whispered through the echo, if it wakes, it chooses. The image shattered. Elias stared at the reactor. You didn't come from the stars, he said slowly. You came from here. From him. Kelt didn't deny it. It simply moved closer to the reactor core and sank into it like liquid merging with its source. The old metal flared with color, lines of energy racing up the walls. The entire chamber began to glow. Elias shielded his eyes. Kelt, what are you doing? The answer hit him like a heartbeat through the floor, remembering. The water vibrated, sending ripples of light in every direction. Elias felt the pulse inside his skull, waves of memory that weren't his, machines blooming from soil, minds linked in song, whole cities breathing as one organism. Then fire. Silence. A sense of falling, of centuries lost. When the visions faded, Kelt re-emerged from the reactor. Its glow was stronger now, steady and controlled. It hovered close, brushing his sleeve like a living breeze. "You're back," he said, voice barely above a whisper. A soft pulse answered him, gratitude. Then another, warning. Elias frowned. What? A new sound echoed from above, engines. Heavy, deliberate, descending. Through the fractured roof, faint red lights bled down through the rain. Kelt drifted toward the shadows, dimming until it was barely visible. Elias felt the fear in his chest, sharp and sudden, but this time it wasn't only his. The creature's terror matched his own. He looked up at the lights growing larger through the cracks. They found us. Kelt's glow flared once, faint but defiant, and the air hummed with energy gathering in its core. Elias swallowed, tight. What are you doing? Join. Survive. He felt the word before he heard it. His pulse raced, and a rush of memory not his own crashed into him, his grandfather standing before this same reactor, hands outstretched, the same light crawling across his veins. The voice in the past echoed through both their minds, if it wakes, it must choose. Elias gasped as his vision blurred. The nexus, the ship, the world, all dissolved into patterns of energy. He felt himself split open and rebuilt in the same breath. For one terrifying heartbeat, he wasn't sure where his mind ended and Kelt began. Then he heard the sound. A deep resonance that filled the air, shaking dust loose from the ceiling. The ship had arrived. Its descent cracked the clouds like a wound in the sky. Elias turned, his senses sharper, flooded with clarity. He could see the electromagnetic fields around every surface, the pulse of machinery beneath the concrete, the faint heat trails of drones circling above. The ship hovered just above the ruins now, impossibly vast. Its surface rippled like liquid metal. From its underside, a lattice of gold light extended toward the nexus, toward them. Kelt's voice, now partly his own, whispered, "They reclaim." "Like hell they do," Elias growled. He reached out without thinking, and the walls around them answered. The nexus stirred under his command, ancient circuits responding as if recognizing him. Power flared across the chamber. Lightning arced between shattered pillars, gathering at his fingertips. Kelt's energy flowed through him freely now, no barrier, no fear. Above, the ship's lattice made contact. The world exploded in blinding light. The impact threw him backward, water splashing in molten arcs. He hit the floor hard, his breath driven from his lungs. Kelt screamed, not in sound, but in the terrible vibration that tore through his mind. The beam had caught part of it, dragging it upward. Its body stretched into luminous strands, unraveling. Elias forced himself up, eyes burning. No. He didn't think. He reached into the pulse between them, into the shared space where their minds met. And for a moment, he felt everything, Kelt's terror, its endless memories, the weight of eons spent waiting in darkness. He pushed back with everything human in him, defiance, love, fury, survival. The beam shuddered, faltered, then bent. For a heartbeat, he held it, his mind screaming against the strain. The energy snapped like a torn wire, and the ship reeled back, its hull darkening. Kelt fell, collapsing into a dim sphere that hit the water beside him. Elias crawled to it, gasping, his hands shaking. Hey! Hey, stay with me. The light flickered weakly. Hurt. He gathered it into his arms, ignoring the heat. You're okay. I've got you. Above, the alien ship began to charge again, its hull glowing with renewed fury. The sound was deafening, a chorus of low tones that rattled the sky. The water trembled around him, vibrating with impossible frequency. Kelt stirred, its light flaring once more. Run. Elias shook his head. There's nowhere to run. Then end. Before he could speak, Kelt's tendrils extended toward the Nexus core again. The ground vibrated as the ancient systems responded, lights burning hotter than ever. Energy spiraled upward, coalescing into a column of pure force. Elias's skin felt like it was on fire. Kelt, stop. You'll end. The word hit him like thunder. He screamed, lunging forward, trying to pull it away, but his hands met only light. The last thing he saw before the world went white was Kelt's shape dissolving into the beam, its glow merging with the reactor's heart. Then everything exploded outward, light, sound, memory, all of it collapsing into silence. The world returned as fragments. Cold water. The taste of metal. The distant wail of alarms echoing through steel corridors. Elias opened his eyes to a haze of gray and flickering orange light. The air was thick with smoke. Every breath burned. He rolled to his side and nearly vomited from the vertigo that slammed through him. The Nexus was gone, or rather, what remained of it was an endless crater of molten debris. The ceiling had collapsed entirely, opening a raw wound to the storm-torn sky above. He groaned, clutching his head. Every pulse in his skull carried a faint echo that wasn't his own. A voice without sound, whispering in static. Kelt. Silence, then a faint flicker, like breath caught in the dark. Still. He sat up slowly. The ground beneath him glowed faintly, crisscrossed by molten veins that pulsed in rhythm with the echo in his head. Around the crater's edge, fragments of alien alloy had fused with human steel, forming strange crystalline growths that shimmered under the lightning. Above, the alien ship hung motionless, its once glowing lattice now fractured and dim. Elias tried to stand but his legs gave out. His vision blurred, colors smearing together. He pressed a hand to his temple, and for an instant, he saw, no, felt, a world beyond his own. Vast fields of living metal, oceans of light, voices like wind across glass. Then it was gone, replaced by pain so deep it made his teeth ache. Kelt, he whispered. You're alive. You're still here. A tremor ran through the ground, and from the shattered reactor core, something stirred. The molten light condensed, drawing inward, folding itself into a single sphere that hovered inches above the debris. Kelt's form, smaller, dimmer, but intact. He crawled toward it, ignoring the way his body screamed in protest. Hey! You did it. You stopped them. The sphere pulsed faintly, the response weak. Cost. Yeah, he breathed, looking around at the devastation. I can see that. Lightning split the sky again, illuminating the alien ship. It drifted lower, its hull groaning. Parts of it peeled away, glowing fragments falling into the ruins below. Whatever Kelt had done had crippled it, but not destroyed it. Elias's heart pounded. They're still here. Kelt shimmered, its light shifting color, blue to silver to white. Others. What others? The answer came in a rush of shared vision. High above the clouds, more ships, sleek and silent, their surfaces marked with familiar geometric runes. Coalition vessels, dozens of them, emerging from orbit. And between them, smaller craft, human-built but carrying alien cores. A joint fleet. Enemies turned uneasy allies. They followed the signal, Elias said. They think they can still capture you. Kelt's pulse slowed. No capture. No return. He reached out, his hand hovering near its surface. Then what? What happens now? For a moment, the creature didn't answer. Then its light expanded, flowing around his hand, creeping up his arm in slow, deliberate tendrils. His skin tingled where it touched, and the hum in his skull grew louder. You carry me. Elias froze. What? To live. To hide. To remember. His chest tightened. No. No, I can't. You'll burn me out. Already joined. He stumbled backward, heart hammering. The glow beneath his skin answered before his voice could. Thin veins of light traced up his forearm, pulsing softly in rhythm with Kelt's core. The creature's energy was already inside him, diffused through his cells, his nerves, his mind. He fell to his knees, trembling. Oh, God! The air around them vibrated again, a new frequency cutting through the storm. The alien ship's remains were coming back online, energy surging across its cracked hull. It wasn't retreating, it was reforming. Kelt's glow flared in warning. They recall the signal. Elias forced himself upright. Then we need to shut it off. He scanned the wreckage, searching for anything familiar, a control console, a working circuit, something he could use. But the Nexus was dead. The power that had run through its veins had burned out completely. The only energy left was within him. He looked down at his arm, at the faint blue light running beneath his skin. You said I carry you. Can I use you? We are the same. He hesitated. Then help me. Together, they reached outward, not with hands, but with thought. The ground trembled as the buried machinery around them answered the call. The molten core at the crater's center began to rise, coalescing into a shape like a column of glass. It pulsed in sync with his heartbeat. The alien ship reacted instantly. The fractured lattice reformed, extending down like claws. Bolts of energy rained from its underside, tearing through the ruins. Elias threw up his arms instinctively, and a barrier of light erupted from the ground, catching the blasts midair. The force nearly knocked him unconscious, but Kelt steadied him, their shared pulse burning brighter. Come on, he muttered through clenched teeth. Just a little more. The column brightened, its resonance deepening until the entire crater seemed to hum. The air rippled. The storm froze mid-motion, rain suspended in the air, lightning trapped in glass. The alien ship's glow flickered once, then collapsed inward. A sphere of light consumed it silently, leaving nothing but dust and ash that rained down like snow. Elias dropped to his knees, gasping, his vision fading at the edges. The world seemed distant, the sounds muffled. Kelt's presence pressed faintly against his consciousness, weaker than before. Done. He swallowed hard. Yeah, he whispered. We're done. The rain resumed, gentle now. The crater filled slowly with water, turning molten rock to steam. Above, the remaining ships held position, their weapons cold. Watching. Waiting. Elias looked up at them, his hair plastered to his face, the faint light beneath his skin still pulsing like a second heartbeat. He could feel Kelt's quiet thought beneath it all, like an echo buried under waves. Hide. Survive. Remember. He nodded, whispering to no one. I will. Then he turned and began to climb out of the crater, the storm breaking apart above him, the last glow of alien fire fading into dawn. The city was a graveyard of steel. Dawn filtered through clouds streaked with ash, painting the ruins of Northbridge in bruised gold. Smoke rose in slow, lazy ribbons from the collapsed structures, drifting toward the silent fleet still hovering miles above. The ships had not moved since the night before. They lingered like ghosts, watching, waiting, deciding. Elias moved through the wreckage with slow, deliberate steps, his boots crunching over shattered glass and metal. Every motion felt heavy, deliberate, like he was walking underwater. His body ached with a deep, marrow-level fatigue. Beneath his skin, the faint blue glow pulsed softly, like a distant heartbeat. Sometimes he could hear Kelt whisper in the back of his mind, fragmented, fading, but there. Quiet now. They listen. He nodded slightly, not sure if the gesture was his or theirs. Then we keep moving, he murmured. His voice sounded foreign in the silence. He reached what used to be the perimeter of the Nexus complex. The ground was a tangle of melted conduits and broken drones, fused into an unrecognizable crust. His grandfather's old workshop had been only a few blocks north, if it still stood at all. The thought pulled him forward. He crossed the debris field, climbing over a collapsed bridge that reeked of ozone and burned plastic. The morning air was sharp, biting through his torn jacket. At one point he paused to watch a squadron of human aircraft pass overhead, their contrail streaking white across the fading storm. They didn't fire, didn't even scan the surface. They were looking for something, or someone, but they were afraid to get close. Kelt stirred faintly inside his thoughts. They sense. Not see. Elias let out a tired breath. Then that gives us time. He finally reached what was left of his grandfather's street. The workshop was still there, half collapsed but recognizable, the metal walls scorched, the roof caved in. The door hung off its hinges, the old sign that read Trent Fabrications blackened beyond saving. He stepped inside carefully, pushing aside a fallen beam. The smell of oil and burnt dust hit him like a memory. Tools were scattered across the floor, covered in ash. The old lathe, the broken plasma cutter, the shelves lined with rusted prototypes, all still there, silent and skeletal. Elias ran his fingers over the nearest workbench, tracing grooves carved into the surface by years of use. He remembered being small enough to sit on this very bench while his grandfather soldered circuits by hand. He remembered the stories, the old man talking about stars, about secrets buried under the earth, about building things that mattered. At the time, he'd thought it was metaphor. Now, standing amid the ruin, he realized the old man had been literal all along. "You knew this was coming," Elias said softly. "Didn't you?" The only reply was the creak of settling metal. Then Kelt's voice, faint but clear. He prepared. "Hid me here. Waited for right hands." Elias swallowed hard. "Mine." A pulse of warmth spread through his chest. "Yours." He sank down against the wall, exhaustion pressing him into the cold floor. The morning light spilled across the workshop in narrow beams through the broken roof. Dust floated in the air like drifting stars. For a while, he just sat there, listening to the world breathe again. The silence wasn't peace, it was aftermath. Kelt's tone changed, softer, distant. "I fade." He straightened instantly. "No. No, you can't. You're a part of me now. You said we're the same. Joined, not bound. My light dims. Must sleep." He clenched his fists, the light under his skin flickering as if trying to hold it in place. "Then I'll keep you alive. I'll find a way." A low pulse, almost like a sigh. "To live, remember. To remember, rebuild." Elias stared at the floor. "Rebuild what?" "Bridge. Between minds. Between stars." The words filled him with both awe and dread. The bridge, whatever that meant, had nearly destroyed everything once. If he brought it back, would it save humanity or end it? He didn't answer. Couldn't. Outside, a faint hum rose in the distance, an engine, small and fast. He moved to the doorway and peered through the smoke. A single skimmer approached, kicking up dust in its wake. Its markings were human but unfamiliar. Civilian rescue unit, maybe. Or something less charitable. Elias stepped back into the shadows as the skimmer descended. Two figures climbed out, their armor light, their faces hidden behind polarized visors. They carried scanners instead of weapons. One of them spoke, voice filtered through static. "Readings are spiking here too. Same resonance as the Nexus site." "Maybe a survivor," the other replied. "Or residual contamination." Elias glanced at his hand. The glow beneath his skin pulsed faintly, betraying him. Kelt's whisper came fast and sharp. "Hide." He grabbed a torn tarp and threw it over himself, forcing his breathing to slow. The soldiers moved through the wreckage, scanning, muttering to each other. One passed so close Elias could see the reflection of his own eyes in the man's visor. For a second, he thought the pulse of light from under his sleeve would give him away, but then, miraculously, the scanner flickered and went dead. The soldier swore and slapped the side of it. Systems fried again. Radiation's messing with the sensors. Let's move, the other said. They left as quickly as they came, their skimmer lifting off into the haze. Elias stayed still until the sound of engines faded completely. Then, slowly, he let out the breath he'd been holding. Kelt's light flickered weakly. They will keep searching. I know. You must leave. He looked around the workshop one last time, the tools, the dust, the faint ghost of his grandfather's voice. Where would I even go? A pause, then the faintest hint of warmth, anywhere. Up. He smiled despite himself. You mean space. Stars remember. The hum inside him dimmed further, retreating deeper into his mind until only silence remained. Elias sat there for a long time, the last traces of blue light fading beneath his skin. Outside, the ships began to move at last, one by one, vanishing into the upper atmosphere. He rose slowly, walked to the center of the ruined workshop, and looked up at the widening sky. The storm had finally cleared. Through the thinning clouds, the first stars shone faintly, distant and cold. He touched the workbench once more, then turned toward the east, toward the mountains and the unscarred horizon beyond. All right, old man, he said quietly. Let's finish what you started. And with that, Elias Trent stepped out of the ruins of his grandfather's world, the faint glow beneath his skin flickering once more before fading into dawn. The mountains were silent except for the wind. It cut through the pines and whistled across the rusting solar farms that dotted the ridgelines, remnants of an age that had once believed it would last forever. Elias had been walking for 2 days, following the broken power conduits that wound like veins through the wilderness, each one leading farther from the ruins of civilization. His body ached, his skin burned faintly beneath the layers of ash and dust, but the glow under his flesh had not returned. Not fully. It pulsed sometimes in his dreams, like a heartbeat he could no longer match. At dawn of the 3rd day, he found what he'd been searching for. A communications array, half buried, half functional, but intact. It rose from the side of a collapsed bunker like the bones of some enormous creature. The dish was cracked but the base still hummed faintly, drawing power from the deep cell buried beneath the earth. The bunker itself bore the faded insignia of the old Interstellar Exploration Division, a name long since erased from every human archive. He approached slowly, brushing frost from a control panel. The screen flickered weakly to life, spitting out static and faint lines of code. He could almost feel Kelt stirring at the edges of his consciousness again, faint but returning. Old bridge. Still breathing. Elias exhaled. Then this is it. He pried open the access hatch and climbed inside. The bunker smelled of stale air and iron. Dust coated everything. Rows of consoles lined the narrow room, most long dead, their surfaces warped by heat. Only the central hub retained power, its lights dim but steady. He brushed off a terminal and began working. The system required an identification key, which was no surprise. But when he pressed his palm to the scanner, something unexpected happened, the machine responded instantly. It read him not as Elias Trent, but as Trent biological designation, hybrid node. A low hum filled the bunker. The lights flickered, stabilizing. Hybrid node, he murmured. You are the bridge, Kelt whispered, weak but certain. It begins with you. The console erupted with alien script, lines of shifting blue glyphs that rearranged themselves faster than he could read. He recognized fragments from the crate's inscriptions, from the dreams Kelt had shown him, ancient coordinates, sequences of thought, star maps layered over neural patterns. Then something else began, an upload, or a transmission. Data streamed upward, beyond the planet's atmosphere. He felt it more than saw it. like static through his bones. "Wait," he said aloud. "Who are you calling?" "The sleepers." Panic rose in his chest. "No. Kelt, stop it. You said awakening them would. They must wake. Without them, your kind burns alone." The terminal shuddered, its screen flooding with light. The bunker trembled as power surged through the ancient machinery. Outside, the air vibrated. Elias stumbled back, shielding his eyes as the dish atop the bunker ignited with a blinding blue pulse that split the morning sky. He could feel Kelt inside his skull now, not whispering but singing, thousands of overlapping voices merging into one endless chord. The sound wasn't just in his ears, it was in his cells, his blood, the very pattern of his thoughts. "We remember. We return." He collapsed to his knees, gasping as visions flooded him, stars blooming like flowers, colossal ships of living metal rising from oceanic worlds, minds linking across galaxies in a single breath. Then darkness. When he opened his eyes, the console was silent again. Smoke curled from the circuits. The dish outside was blackened, its surface cracked from the surge. "Kelt." His voice came out hoarse. Are you still here?" Only silence. He waited, breathing hard, but there was nothing. The emptiness in his head felt unbearable. The connection that had guided him, haunted him, defined him, gone. He stood unsteadily, looking around the bunker. The hum of the generators had died completely. But the air felt different now, charged, alive. He stepped outside into the thin sunlight, scanning the horizon. At first, he saw nothing. Then the sky shimmered. A ripple spread across the upper atmosphere, like heat distortion magnified to planetary scale. It rolled outward, slow and vast, the clouds bending around it. Then, motion. Dozens of lights, distant but unmistakable, descending through the haze. They weren't human ships. They moved with organic grace, flowing like schools of fish through the air. His pulse quickened. Oh, God. Not gods. The voice was faint but clear, a whisper from somewhere deep inside him. Kin. He turned his gaze upward. The alien vessels glided closer, luminous and silent, their forms shifting like liquid glass. They emitted no sound, no heat signature, only a faint hum that resonated in his bones. One of them slowed, hovering miles above the mountains. A shaft of blue light lanced downward, sweeping across the terrain. Elias shielded his eyes as it passed over him. When it did, his veins flared with light again, blazing, searing, but not painful. The mark of the bridge. The light receded as quickly as it came. Then, in his mind, they see you. They come. He staggered back, overwhelmed. Kelt, what have I done? Begun. The ships began to spread out, their formations fractal, beautiful, terrifying. A second wave appeared behind them, larger, darker, moving with deliberate intent. These were not like the others. Their silhouettes were angular, predatory. He didn't need to ask. Not all of them are friendly. The faint hum of his comm unit crackled suddenly. A human voice broke through, sharp with panic. Unidentified contact, this is Orbital Command, what the hell did you just activate? We're detecting massive energy signatures across the hemisphere. Elias lifted the transmitter to his mouth but didn't answer. What could he say? That he had awakened something older than history itself. That the stars were answering back. Above him, the first alien vessel shifted course, moving directly overhead. The others followed. The air grew warm, dense, electric. Kelt's voice flickered once more, barely audible. The bridge stands. Choose the path, Elias. Them, or us. Then it was gone again, leaving only the sound of the wind and the rising roar of approaching engines, both human and alien, rushing toward the same sky. The air trembled with light. Above the mountains, Human and alien vessels filled the dawn, two armadas poised in a silence so vast it made the wind seem deafening. Elias stood in the open snowfield, the wreck of the old communications bunker smoldering behind him. The earth itself seemed to wait, every sound swallowed by the low, thrumming pulse from the ships overhead. He could feel the signal in his bones, vibrating through every nerve, like a second heartbeat sinking to the rhythm of the universe. Kelt was gone, but not gone, its presence rippled through the air, diffused, everywhere at once. The human fleet descended in formation, sleek, angular cruisers painted in the blue-gray insignia of the Terran coalition. Their cannons glowed with restrained fire. Across from them, the alien ships glided in fluid arcs, reshaping themselves in rippling motion, their surfaces alive with patterns of color that pulsed like thought. Two languages of war facing each other, neither willing to speak first. Elias stepped forward, snow crunching under his boots. "Stop," he whispered, though no one could hear him. The glow beneath his skin flared again, answering something above. A voice crackled over his comm, full of static and urgency. "Elias Trent, this is Admiral Corinne of Orbital Command. Step away from the structure. You are under quarantine. Do you copy?" He didn't reply. The alien ship nearest him tilted slightly, and a beam of pale light speared down, enveloping him in a cocoon of warmth. His body lifted an inch off the ground. For an instant, he saw things, not with eyes, but with thought. Vast networks of energy and memory stretching across starfields. Planets blooming and dying. Minds connected like constellations. And at the center of it, the bridge, the thing his grandfather had hidden, the thing Kelt had been guarding, the thing now living inside him. The human fleet reacted instantly. Hostile contact, fire control engaged. "No!" Elias shouted, but the word was swallowed by thunder. The first barrage streaked upward, lances of plasma cutting through the light. They hit the alien formation, exploding in brilliant bursts. The shockwave rippled through the valley, toppling trees and sending shards of ice flying through the air. The alien ships didn't retaliate, not yet. They shimmered, rearranging themselves, absorbing the energy. Elias stumbled to his knees, the glow in his chest flaring wildly. Every hit made him feel like his blood was burning. Then Kelt's voice returned, faint and fragmented. "They fear what they do not know. Show them." "How?" he gasped, clutching his chest. "They're going to kill us all. Bridge, remember. Mind to mind." The light pulsed harder, spreading through his veins, flooding outward until it filled the entire field. His vision dissolved. The noise of battle faded. For a heartbeat, there was nothing but silence, and then he wasn't alone. He saw through their eyes. Both sides. The humans in their cockpits, tense, terrified, believing they were protecting their species from extinction. The aliens in their living ships, ancient and grieving, seeing humans as echoes of themselves, children who had rediscovered forbidden fire. And between them, he felt the long ache of time, the centuries of silence that had followed the fall of the first bridge. Kelt's voice was everywhere now. Join them. Not as weapon. As witness. Elias raised his hands, and the light answered. It surged upward in a column that split the clouds. Every ship, human and alien, froze in place. Systems flickered, weapons powered down. For a single breathless moment, everything shared one thought, the memory of the first dawn. He saw Kelt's people awakening again, far across the stars. Not as conquerors, but as travelers, returning to the galaxy they had abandoned. And he saw humanity reflected in them, reckless, brilliant, unafraid. The bridge had never been meant to control or destroy, it was meant to connect. The light dimmed slowly, fading into the cold air. When his vision cleared, the sky was still. The human ships hovered motionless, no longer firing. The alien vessels withdrew slightly, their forms softening, folding inward. A channel opened on his comm again, this time calm. Admiral Corinne's voice, quiet, uncertain. Elias, what did you do? He looked up at the ships, his breath steaming in the chill. I reminded them we're not so different. Static filled the line for a long moment. Then, finally, the alien fleet is standing down. Our systems, they're responding to them. Like we're synced. Elias smiled faintly. That's the bridge. He fell to his knees, exhausted. The glow beneath his skin was fading now, not painfully but peacefully, like embers cooling after a long fire. Kelt's voice was barely a whisper. The bridge stands. We rest. He closed his eyes. You did it. We did. He lay there in the snow, breathing slowly. Above him, the alien ships began to rise, their bodies scattering into light, dispersing across the horizon until they vanished entirely. The human fleet held position, waiting, uncertain. Then one by one, they too pulled back into the upper atmosphere, leaving only the whisper of their passing. Silence returned to the mountains. The storm clouds cleared. For the first time in days, sunlight touched the peaks again, bright and gold. Elias sat there for a long while, staring at the empty sky. He could still feel faint traces of the bridge, like a heartbeat just beyond hearing. Somewhere out there, Kelt's kind were awake. And humanity had seen them not as monsters, but as something else, something vast and familiar. When he finally stood, the wind caught his jacket, snapping it around him like a flag. He turned back toward the valley, toward what was left of his world. There would be rebuilding. There would be questions. But there would also be hope. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, half-melted object, a fragment of the original alien crate. The surface still shimmered faintly with dormant light. He held it up to the sun, and for a moment, it glowed brighter, almost alive. Grandpa, he murmured. Guess your workshop really did change the universe. A faint laugh escaped him, and he started down the mountain path, leaving a trail of footprints that the wind would soon erase. Behind him, the sky shimmered once, just once, with a ripple of pale blue light, like a silent promise. Elias Trent didn't look back. The bridge was built. The stars were waiting.